For me, the definition of innovation is allowing anyone to have the space to create, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm. Money's expensive, degrees are expensive, and kids need something that they can latch onto and something that's viable.
What's the return on investment of a college education? There's so many other pathways now that are open to students.
You nailed it.
Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to another episode of The Path Forward. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Rick Fernandez, and we're here at the Cannon today for an exciting event sponsored by NASA. And I have two road runners joining me from UTSA. Welcome, Erica and Cie, to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks
Glad to
for
be
having
here.
us.
Now, what is your involvement with today's event?
So we are here really as observers because we are looking to grow events like this at UTSA. I'm Associate Vice Provost of Career Engaged Learning at UTSA, which is an ecosystem of offices that really works with students on their co-curricular development outside the classroom, really preparing them for the real world, teaching marketable skills and things like that. And events like this is excellent in doing that. So we're here to learn and to network and hopefully, make connections that we can bring back to UTSA.
Outstanding. And Erica, what's your role at UTSA?
Yep. So I serve as Associate Director in our Nangem Center of Innovation and Career Advancement. And I'd like to say, that's a long title, fancy way.
Is there an acronym that goes along with that? 'Cause that was a lot.
No, it's a lot. And so I just tell people I'm Erica, and I like to hang out with students and awesome community members, and I love connecting the students with opportunities to get real world experience in the area of project-based experiential learning. I also function in the space of innovation and entrepreneurship with our students. The big part of what we do in our center is truly having a safe space for our students to come as they are. We say this all the time, come as you are. If they're curious, allowing them the opportunity to work with organizations that are domestic and abroad on project-based learning. So they will have real issues and challenges that they tackle for the organizations. One of the big pieces that I think that sets our center apart is we don't have any GPA requirements for our students.
Sign me up. That was sold right there.
I was a first generation college student. I tell people the story all the time. I had a 1.46 GPA. I was getting ready to be kicked out. So I chuckle a lot that I'm actually in this field, having the opportunity to work with students that were just like me, and just giving them that chance and watching them go from little flowers of confusion and not knowing and not being afforded that opportunity. And then they come into the center and they work on a project and you see them working in it. So it's also interdisciplinary.
Right.
So we have students that are marketing majors working with actuarial science majors, working with engineering majors, all on one focused project. And it may be a marketing plan for a company, right? But getting those different perspectives, as well as first-year freshmen with PhD students all working together, and hearing the PhD students saying, "Man, I learned a lot from the freshmen." But it's great. It's equitable in the sense that all of our opportunities are paid for the students. And then also in the way of innovation and entrepreneurship, I'm so excited that we're launching our Startup Academy in the fall. And people are like, oh, startups, that's great. And the way that our student makeup at UTSA is, it's really what our role is, and our goal is really to get the students curious, open up their mindset, and plant those seeds of entrepreneurship.
Sure. Now, you said flowers of confusion. I've never quite heard it framed that way, but that seems to be an apt description. Now, see, I got to ask you, so you're giving them the skills, and we were talking a little bit off camera about what are the skills that actually have to happen in the workplace outside of maybe a specific discipline? What do you think students are missing? Like as they come and let's say they graduate, what are the pieces that they're missing, and why are they missing those pieces?
Sure. And you said that we're giving them the skills. We're not really giving it to them. They're already there.
Oh, okay.
We're just digging them out and uncovering them.
That's quite right.
Because the thing is, when students graduate and say, here's my degree, I have a degree, hire me. We have heard from employers, and it's not unique to San Antonio, it's across the country, that sure, they have the skill set in some field of
Right.
study, but can they work in a team? Can they think critically on their own? Can they problem solve? Are they culturally aware? And these are those marketable skills that they are learning in the classroom. They are learning by things that they do at the university. If they're in a club, if they're in some kind of a leadership capacity, if they do an internship, if they do research. But the focus is identifying, hey, you did this thing, and because you did this, it heightened your critical thinking skills, and this is how. It's that confidence building and understanding self-awareness, emotional intelligence that graduates need to be competitive in the workforce. Sure. And so it's our classroom to career initiative. It's not just about learning the subject. It's about learning about yourself and how you interact with others and how you use that knowledge, and really just kind of uncovering things that are already there. As Erica said, they're, plant the seeds or flowers. We're just taking the tarp off, and they flourish.
I gotta say, by far, you guys have the best analogies of any guest I've ever had. Okay, I gotta pose a question to you, and this is a little bit of a taboo question. And so, I've been a public educator for 20 years. Now I'm on the private sector, so I see both sides of it. Why wouldn't we start to reform what curriculum asks of students, and so that there's not that gap, both at K-12 and higher ed? Why not embed those experiences within our curriculum, our coursework, our degree plans? Anybody want to take that shot?
Why not? So I would argue and say that we're trying to do that.
Okay.
We are definitely trailblazing, pioneering.
What's the barrier?
Okay.
Tradition?
Historical ideals, mindsets, long-held traditions,
Yep.
change.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things differently. But it's really not
Fear.
that heavy of a lift if you take an intentional approach. Yep. It's just by looking at the market data and understanding what skills certain industries require, and then going back to the curriculum and saying, okay, you're already doing some of that. Let's just heighten this a little bit here, here, and here. And all of a sudden, you're meeting the mark.
Sure.
And so we're working with the curriculum development across the university to identify these things. It takes communication. It takes time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say time. Yeah. That's a huge barrier too. And it takes someone focused on that. There's a lot of things that colleges are focused on.
Sure.
And this may, not be at the top of the priority list, but UTSA has made it a priority.
I mean, that's great to hear. My fear has always been, even as a former superintendent, and I've always believed that career in tech and those pathways are going to be the most advantageous for our current job market, our future job market, and the skill sets that kids are most likely to need when they land a job. My fear is that because of we haven't adapted so well, and education is, I say that broadly, there's a lot of things like steering a huge ship, right? You can't change it too fast. Mm-hmm. But the job market and the technology and what is being asked is evolving daily. Mm-hmm. So for us to not be as adaptable or not see the need to be as adaptable, I think that's dangerous. I think we get into a path of how far are our students going to fall behind before what's going to be the tipping point for us to say, we've got to adapt. We've got to do this differently.
Well, and I think that we're up against something. What's the return on investment of a college education? There's so many other pathways now that are open to
You
students.
nailed it.
And so we're going to have to step up our game and say, this is your return on investment. It is a career, and it's not just a job, it's a career or many careers.
Which is more likely nowadays.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's not something that institutions can just sit passively by and just welcome students for the sake of just learning. I mean, there's going to have to be, and there has been an uptick in this career engaged classroom to career ideology across the country. And so, schools are of adopting that, and career services is sort of changing their mindset. It's not transactional anymore, it's much more relational.
Yeah, and working with universities across the country, there's all these innovation hubs that universities are either have or building, but there's got to be a lot of connective tissue, because when you're trying to figure out, all right, what does it look like in the workforce or in practice versus what is happening in the classroom, and then all the coordination that has to happen to kind of bridge that gap, it's difficult. It's extremely difficult, but I think it's very worthwhile that you all are doing that and having those conversations. And I tell some of my community college friends, I said, if I was a community college president, I would be eating up the market share of students right now.
Yeah.
Because money's expensive, degrees are expensive, and kids need something that they can latch onto and something that's viable.
So
Career.
one of the pieces that I agree wholeheartedly everything that what Cie was saying, and what are the student? Well, I'm just going to say we have a term that we use, WIIFM. We actually have a WIIFM institute that's going on right now this summer.
WIIFM.
What's WIIFM? What's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, and it's truly about integrating the student. A lot of times as practitioners, and I'll just say it, we want to sit up here and we want to make all these decisions on what the students need, what they want, and this is how they need to go, and all that. And we're dealing with a generation, and they're saying, what's in it for me? You want me to go pay all these thousands of dollars for this degree when I can go be a YouTuber, or I can have a podcast, or I can go fill in the blank.
Right.
And for us, it truly is identifying the WIIFM for them. And once we're able to, and I think that we're on the trajectory to doing that, we're tying in that gap between the university, the corporate America, or the organizations that are going to be hiring our students, and including the student, and bringing them to the table and giving them a voice. And by having that, here we go, now having a trinity, having the three work together, that's going to be what's our future.
Sure.
And how we're going to move
Well,
forward.
we design instruction, we design coursework based on how we experienced it.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, and that's just a natural human thing to do, but it's dangerous because I had experienced it a long time ago, and it's not the same experience, nor should it be.
Right.
But the word innovation gets tossed around a lot. We have an innovation division with my company, Answer Advisory, that do a great job. But what does it mean? Like when you say, all right, you're leading innovation, how do you classify that? What's actually happening?
For me, and I chuckle because if you go down the hall, it's like innovation for this, innovation for that. We had a big meeting of all the innovation folks on campus to try to get on the same page. For me, the definition of innovation is allowing, and I'm going to speak for the student, allowing anyone to have the space to create, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just innovation of I'm going to, create some kind of a technical marvel or some kind of a biomedical device.
Right.
It's social innovation
Yes.
too.
We think of it as a singular, like immediately our brains go to tech.
Right.
It's
No.
not that. It's not that. I mean, even if it's a way that you're providing a skill,
Yep.
like what you guys are doing there. I mean, that is critical, and it may not seem like, well, we should, that's just common sense. We should always be doing that. Well, why aren't we then?
Yeah.
What are you most proud of up until this point? What's occurred and where the future holds? What's the big ticket item you're like, that's awesome?
That we're proud of at UTSA.
Yes.
This area of career engaged learning was created in 2019. And then we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
But despite that, we have grown this area significantly. The student engagement has increased significantly. Community partner engagement, employer engagement has increased significantly. The NAGEM Center was created in 2020. It started with 4 students. Now there's well over 150 that participate. I think we've latched on to something that works, and it is very much, as Erica said, student driven. Students are all in all of our decisions. Community members are in our decisions. And it's very much, I think, opening up a wonderful new world of collaboration. And for me, the most rewarding thing is hearing the outcomes of the students and how they feel about themselves, or the internship they just got, or the job they just got, or where they're studying. One's in Germany right now. I mean, it's just that's the win
Sure. The end product is the growth of the
of the
student.
students.
What do you need from me? Meaning, so for Answer Advisory, amongst the other things, I head our internship program. I help a lot with innovation. There's a variety of things that I have my paws in. But if you're going to say, hey, we really need the business sector to do more of this, or can this be done differently? What's the ask?
I think I would, just as you said about sort of the changing philosophy of institutions, I think maybe if the corporate world, employers have maybe an old view of institutions, kind of looking at how they can interact with institutions and those students differently. For example, the project-based learning that Erica does, I mean, that's something that's very new to a lot of organizations that we've worked with, and it's beneficial for them. And so maybe thinking beyond the internship and thinking beyond talking to students after they graduate, like how can they partner with universities to help grow these students, therefore the students getting the university perspective and the employer corporate real world perspective, because it's how can they be a partner and enrich the students, and then also receive benefits from students participating in their company in research, internship, projects, anything like that.
So, if I were going to have two asks from the university side, if I said, you know what, I'll just ask, and as long as it's don't cut me $1 million check, but in terms of time or internship or opportunity or partnership, if I just said, just tell me what you need and I'll make it happen, the time frame to get that in motion is too long, way too long. Slammed busy. We got a million projects going on all over the country. That needs to be expedited to accommodate that passion that you have from the business sector. The other thing is, a lot of times you don't have a contact at a university, right? So you're trying to figure out, hey, I've got internships, I've got scholarships, we do a Shark Tank pitch class for colleges and K-12. Like, we got all these things, but yet I don't know who to go to on the website, or I don't have a contact there. So my only ask would be, make that person highly visible and easy to engage with, and then whatever the process of greenlighting something, if there's a way to
Fast track it.
Yeah, because I'm lucky to have a firm that gives me a lot of leeway, and we have a lot of resources and a lot of offices across the country with very bright, intelligent, energetic folks. We can do a lot in a very short amount of time. And a lot of companies are like that. And I think that if we can bridge that gap a little bit between the time somebody reaches out to the time that something can get off the ground, it will make a lot of difference in what can happen for students. And like for our interns that I have now, right? I understand it's summertime, if there's athletics going on, like we're flexible, we work around all of that stuff, right? Whether it's remotely or thinking of different projects that can be done at certain sites or what have you, but there's always a workaround. I think that companies are more willing to do the work around than they've ever been. You know, where usually all right, you have to come to the office from 9 to 5 and sit at the desk and go make copies. That's I don't think that's the standard any longer.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's not the first time I've heard that. And universities can be seen as an impenetrable fortress. Yes, I completely agree.
And that's, like you said, it will take time to change some of that, but my fear is time is now. We've got this opportunity to do it, and why would we not move forward? So what are you looking to get out of the NASA, this pitch piece from NASA? Like, and obviously you said the learning component, but in terms of your own learning.
So we do competitions. We have a case competition.
What is that? Case, break it down to me.
I will break it down. So case for us is not the traditional business case challenge,
Okay.
right? Our case competition is civic and social engagement.
Okay.
Or experience, I'm sorry. And we partner with organizations. So this past competition, we partnered with Dell Technologies, and they gave our students with their diversity, equity, inclusion office. And so they gave our students a challenge. I just saw a challenge up there. Gave them a challenge around, I think the challenge was how to incorporate AI in their recruitment efforts. And so we had 14 teams compete. Again, a diverse group of teams, and they worked. They got 48 hours to come up with a tangible recommendation for Dell Technologies in their division, and so they pitched it, and then the Dell is actually going to work with them on implementing the recommendation.
It's very cool.
So being able to expand that at UTSA and not just have it so I actually come from the College of Business, but business is so structured, engineering is so structured. We have over 34,000. We have other colleges. We have students that are in liberal arts. Why not include everybody? Let's bring everybody to the table and give them opportunities. I would love to see some our art student or someone here, throw them in the mix.
Right.
How come they can't come? So how, being able to be here, be in the atmosphere, and seeing how we can connect the dots for all of our students, and not just the powerhouses, as some would say, engineering and business. So that's the
And this is a great place for it. John Lambert, CEO, a friend of mine, and does amazing things here at the Cannon with the mentorship and the opportunities for startups and young businesses and really young students to come learn and make some mistakes in an incubator space. I mean, that's awesome.
I love you said that. Make mistakes.
Oh, you have to.
That's our
to.
thing.
Yeah.
We gotta.
You have to fail.
We have to.
That's where the learning happens, right?
Absolutely.
And then I think I'll be honest about our K-12 space. We're hesitant to do that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yes. Well, that's a whole my life story. But not everybody is going to understand everything on the first pass.
Right.
Rarely, that doesn't happen, right? So, again, we're creating our own issues, in my opinion, instead of doing things that we know are going to serve the students better. Sometimes we're doing things because in the moment it makes us feel better, or it comforts us, or we don't have to move or adjust. But we've got to have people like you out there helping us make that happen.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Thanks so
you.
much.
I found some kindred spirits at UTSA. Now, I'm a Sam Houston State grad, so
Okay.
But I'm not going to hold
Well,
that.
I didn't graduate from
Okay.
UTSA. I graduated from Southwest Texas.
Oh,
now
Texas State.
Texas State,
Okay.
but when it was Southwest Texas
Now,
State.
now, are you?
I'm a triple alum from UTSA, so
So the Roadrunners have your dollars.
yes,
They got all of them.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's awesome that you're giving back, and we have some connections at UTSA. My firm has done some great work, and
nice.
and we know that that's a hub of innovation, and that the university is really pushing the boundaries in the San Antonio area,
Absolutely.
and everybody needs it. But it's
Well, y'all need to come do a project. I mean, I'm just saying.
so
We can make this. We can make this happen.
Here's why I asked the question about the turnaround time. We can do whatever needs to be done.
Fall. It
Well,
starts
you've got
right
your
here.
contacts sitting right here.
Right
So
here.
I've got internships. I've got
Projects,
pitch.
a whole
I've got
project, maybe?
we've got whatever's needed.
Well,
and
We
make
have
it
the
happen quickly.
students. So
All right,
we can make this happen.
done deal.
Okay.
Thank you. She wanted to shake on camera so that way I can't get out of it later and be like, you said you're going to take 40 kids.
Like the students say, receipts. I have to keep receipts.
That's true. That's true. Well, thank y'all for being here. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
you.
Okay.
Produced by Podcast Architects.